Bring in Brandon Drumm, covers the Oklahoma Sooners for the Rivals on 3 Network. Give us a little bit of time here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Brandon, we appreciate the time. Happy Thanksgiving. How are you?
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. Let's start with something that I just alluded to. As you might imagine, not a lot of college football playoff talk here in Baton Rouge. A lot of Lane Kiffin talk, a lot of who's next talk, a lot of transfer portal talk. Not a lot of college football playoff talk. Does Oklahoma have to win on Saturday?
Yeah, they do. They have to. You know what? I don't. Look, there are some people at ESPN in particular that think Oklahoma, even with a loss, has a 60% chance of making the playoffs still, but I don't know that I would want to trust that. If I was Oklahoma, I would want to go ahead and take care of business, and instead of, hoping you get in or taking that 60 or 40% chance that you don't, win and go ahead and stay home and have a home playoff. That would probably be pretty nice.
I think that would be quite nice for the folks up there in Norman. I know about the defense, and we're going to get to that. I'm curious about the offense. What percentage of the midseason slump, specifically the Texas game, can you just solely put on John Mateer's hand that is now, we think, healed and obviously feels better than it did in the Red River rivalry?
Yeah, look, I think in that game in particular, I think he came back, he didn't practice, so he kind of forced things. And I think from that point on, just confidence isn't there. His eyes, his trusting of what he's seeing isn't there the way that it was prior to, him getting injured. Look, I'm of the belief that he probably shouldn't have gotten the surgery during the season because he could have set out and come back. And I don't know the healing aspect of it. I'm not a doctor. But just from a mental standpoint, it feels like he kind of screwed him up a little bit. He was 17 of 18 with a broken hand against Auburn. Auburn has a good defense, like a really, really good defense. 17 of 18 the last 3.5 quarters with a broken hand. And he went off and did that, set out, kind of lost his groove, didn't practice before the Texas matchup, and everybody saw what happened. He just wasn't the same wide open guy, not seeing him, and cost Oklahoma a ball game. And it's been that way ever since. Like, he will miss wide open dudes and throw it into double coverage. And you're like, what are you looking at, man? He just rushes. But the one thing you'll never be able to say about him is he's not a gamer, because he is. For some odd reason, in big moments, he makes big plays, and that's why Oklahoma continues to win, because he does just enough to help Oklahoma get over that hump every game.
What are they trying to accomplish on offense if things are going well? Like, what's the identity of this Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer, Oklahoma offense?
Give the ball to 24, Xavier Robinson.
Yeah.
Ride that big dude. He's really, really, him and Caden Durham are really, really good friends. And same with David Stone. They all grew up together. My son, in the summer, actually trains with Caden and all those guys at this weight facility up here in Oklahoma City. And they're all tight, super good friends. Just so it's kind of funny that both those guys end up, playing for an SEC school. They're very similar players, just kind of power backs, strong, big lower body type guys. But they were all on the same team growing up. Can you imagine that? That's scary. But yeah, that's what you do. You hand it to 24, you let him run, and then you try to get it to number 5, Isaiah Catania, and let him, make a big play or two for you, because that's what he's known to do, being close to 1,000 yards receiving already this year.
Yeah, he showed that speed against Missouri back on Saturday. Let's go to the defensive side of the football, where Brent Venables has been a star for better than 2 decades in college football. What's the strength of this Oklahoma defense if you had to pinpoint it? I'm sure you've got options there.
Defensive line. I think the defensive line is just elite. It might be the best defensive line in college football. And they're deep. That's the scary part. It's like, our Mason Thomas goes down, no problem. You just throw Marvin Jones Jr. out there, former 5-star. The other side, you got Taylor Wine, who has been all SEC defensive lineman and defensive player of the week several times this year. Interior, you got Jaden Jackson, top 50 player overall at a high school. You got David Stone, a 5-star. Dominique Williams, who was the most ballyhooed guy. You guys know about that at LSU.
Yep.
He almost went to LSU. And then Grayson Alton, who was ironically a quarterback in high school and ballooned into being a defensive lineman that Oklahoma has developed into quite stud. And that's just kind of the surface. You got Adepuju Adebalara, and he is a former 5-star DN as well. Amy Okoye as well, the edge, who LSU recruited very hard. So, they are just super deep, super talented, and they're super young. That's the crazy part about this. Outside of R. Mason Thomas, Grayson Holland, and Dominique Williams, they return everybody, literally everybody next year. So they're young, they're talented, and that's kind of the core of the defense would be the defensive front.
LSU does not run the ball well. They don't really try to run it. They're last in the SEC in carries. Basically, the entire offense at this point is throw it out to perimeter and see if somebody can break a tackle, which more often than not, they don't, which is why they only scored 1 touchdown against Western Kentucky. So you look at the Oklahoma secondary and how they would match up with LSU, who's pretty athletic on the edge but doesn't do a lot down the field. How's the Oklahoma secondary?
Eli Bowen and Peyton Bowen have both been named Jim Thorpe back-to-back weeks. Jim Thorpe Players of the Week. And one's a corner, one's a safety. Peyton's a safety, Eli's a corner. Eli was a freshman. They both were freshman All-Americans, actually, during their time as freshmen, which is kind of funny. You have Cortland Guillory and Jacoby Johnson on the other end, who will rotate at corner. Gentry Williams been banged up. They're hoping he comes back at some point this year. Maybe this game, maybe, for the playoffs, because he's probably their best corner overall when he's healthy. He just struggles to stay healthy. But they're really deep. Michael Boganowski is just a headhunter. You got Kendall Daniels at Cheetah, who said he grew up an LSU fan, but he's a 6'4", 235, 240-pound Cheetah. He plays safety, nickel, outside backer. Does it all, kind of like Isaiah Simmons back in the day. Does it all for Oklahoma, so he's kind of a special talent. So that's kind of the secondary. I will say at one point they were giving up big plays, but ever since Cortland Guillory, freshman, has kind of found his footing, that's stopped. And when Eli Bowen came back, it really stopped, and you kind of saw a progression there with Oklahoma secondary. So they kind of hit their stride across the board. But, mobile quarterbacks is where they kind of and they struggle a little bit with those. So that's kind of where he's worried.
We'll see. Michael Van Buren certainly more athletic than Garrett Nussmeier. What's your sense on what the ceiling is for this Oklahoma team? Do you think they can win a championship with that defense and scoring enough points, or do you feel like there might be a lower ceiling than that?
I think they can make a run. They're not winning the title. I just, at some point, they're going to lose because they lose a game 28-21. Something to that extent because your offense just can't muster enough points to help the defense out. And, they've done a good job of not turning the ball over, but the problem is they're relying on Tate Sandell to kick 50-yard field goals every week, too, which he's awesome, probably the best kicker in college football. But you can't do that and expect to win championships. So I think they can make a run. I think their defense will allow them to make a run. I just don't know that they get past Ohio State. And if they do get past Ohio State, I definitely don't know that they get past whoever they meet in the semifinals. So I cannot see them winning a national title this year. Next year, that's a conversation we can have because they return everybody. But yeah, I just can't imagine it this year.
Sounds like the foundation set up there for Brent Venables. Brandon, we appreciate a little bit of time. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday and enjoy the football on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a Thanksgiving too.
Brandon Drumm with the On3 and Rivals Network covering the Oklahoma Sooners. It's a tough matchup for LSU with LSU's offensive line against that ridiculous Oklahoma defensive front. Hopefully Michael Van Buren's athleticism can give LSU a little bit of something. We talked to Michael yesterday, and I've got a story coming up tomorrow on him and how the Tigers plan to attack this Oklahoma defense. But it's not a great matchup on paper. I will promise you that. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.